Nijisanji's contract has been leaked. This is big because normally we don't know what goes on in the company. There's been a lot of controversies coming out of Nijisanji lately, and a lot of people just want answers regarding how Nijisanji is run. And this Nijisanji contract gives an insight regarding what happens inside of the company. The Nijisanji contract has been leaked to a YouTuber called A Legal Mindset. You will know this YouTuber as the lawyer who's been going through Nijisanji's controversies and giving his take as a professional lawyer. Today we'll be going through everything Legal Mindset has said in his 4-hour live stream. We won't cover everything, but I will condense everything into a smaller video so everyone can get a TLDR regarding what happened. Before we begin though, I just want to say a lot of the lawyers' opinions will bleed into what I believe regarding the Nijisanji contract because that is how I learned about it. And it is a 4-hour live stream that I'm trying to condense into a smaller video. So take what I say with a grain of salt. Anyway, let's begin. So some of you might be wondering, is the Nijisanji contract legitimate? Well, we don't know who provided Legal Mindset with the Nijisanji contract. The lawyer was trying to keep his sources private, which is good because we don't want Nijisanji going after the VTuber and suing them for leaking the contract. Right now, we don't know who it is. While Legal Mindset did include Dokibird in the original thumbnail for that livestream, he took the thumbnail down and replaced it with a logo of Nijisanji instead because he didn't want people to misunderstand. Because there's no way Dokibird could possibly be supplying the Nijisanji contract to Legal Mindset. Honestly, I don't think Dokibird is the one who leaked the document because she's sitting on more than 600,000 subscribers right now. She's getting a ton of views, and there's no way she would risk her future for a company that slighted her, that screwed her over. There's no way. She has moved on. Lunar New Year, new beginnings. She has moved on. Some people suspect that the contract came from one of the Crisis members that didn't debut. You remember right around the time where False ID reported on a 2% revenue split from merchandising, there were rumors that it was provided by the 4th Crisis member. I don't remember what his name was, but people are suspecting that he was the one who leaked this Nijisanji contract. There are other people who claim that Naxtaku was the one who leaked the Nijisanji contract. God knows why, but people were saying he managed to get his hands onto a Nijisanji contract, but he just never revealed it, which is kind of silly. There are also other wild rumors regarding a VTuber called the Grimmy. Grimmy was this VTuber who was allegedly invited into Nijisanji, but she never joined the company. At least that was what people were saying, but Grimmy would come out and say that it wasn't about joining Nijisanji. He was just talking about her health problems, so it can't be her. There are others who claim that Sayu was the one who leaked it, and I'm not talking about Sayu Synchronicity, I'm talking about Sayu, as in the voice actor, Cyyu, because Sayu was the one who complained about Nijisanji wanting him to give up his voice acting career before he could join Nijisanji, so he never joined. So he could have an unsigned contract, but we don't think that it's him because there's no way he's going to involve himself with the company as big as Nijisanji, who may sue him. Other possible suspects could be Sayo Synchronicity. She was an ex-Nijisanji VTuber called Zion Lanza, and she had a lot of misgivings regarding the company. She put out this entire tweet longer, an entire document called The One Girl Story, detailing what goes on in Nijisanji, so people suspect it is her. She was also seen on a Power stream on Twitch where she just talked about how Nijisanji basically tried to blackmail her into signing a silencing contract within 3 hours. And that happened not too long before the Legal Mindset's live stream regarding the leaked Nijisanji contract. I don't think Sayu was the one who leaked the Nijisanji contract simply because that is not the contract she leaked. She leaked a different contract. There's been a video making the rounds on the internet showing Sayu just talking about how she gave a Nijisanji contract to Legal Mindset so the lawyer could review it. But what you need to understand is that 2 Nijisanji contracts were leaked. The first Nijisanji contract that was leaked is basically the template employment contract for Nijisanji. We don't know who leaked this. And then there is the second Nijisanji contract that has been leaked. And that is confirmed to be Sayu's silencing contract. And Sayu basically went on stream to say that, yeah, she gave Legal Mindset the silencing contract that she mentioned. Nijisanji tried to blackmail her into signing within 3 hours. Legal Mindset also showed like DMs on Discord between Sayu and Nijisanji management as well. So that's a second video that came out after the Nijisanji employment contract. So the TLDR is Sayu Synchronicity did not leak the Nijisanji employment contract. Instead, Sayu leaked the second contract, the silencing contract that she received from Nijisanji when they were trying to silence her before her termination announcement. All this just means we don't know where the Nijisanji contract came from. We don't know who leaked it. It could be from the VTubers in VShoujo and we wouldn't even know. No one knows where the contract came from, except Legal Mindset and the person who leaked it to him. Anyway, so what's in the Nijisanji contract? So the first thing we saw on the Nijisanji contract was there was a redacted part of the document. Basically, the name of the VTuber was blotted out. And Legal Mindset would confirm that this document was unsigned and it was a template document that any random Nijisanji VTuber would sign. Now, this is an assumption, but it's an assumption based on Legal Mindset's experience. There is no danger of the VTuber who provided the document getting doxxed, because even if you take away the blotted part of the document, it would just be a blank space, because this is a template document. The lawyer would spend around 40 minutes talking and going through Article 1, which we will not go through because it includes definitions which will be used throughout the article. We're going to cover them anyway. Think of them as terminology that you may or may not need to know. I think I saw False ID come in and talk in the chat half an hour in as well. It was a really long stream. Another thing that Legal Mindset noticed was the Nijisanji contract had bad grammar. So he's speculating that the contract could have been a Japanese to English translation. We will skip through Article 2 and go straight into Article 3, which details the VTuber activities that Nijisanji expects its VTubers to do. Now this section is interesting because aside from live streaming, Nijisanji also specifies here that they expect the VTubers to do social media posts and press conferences. And after the lawyer went through this section, he was just saying that Nijisanji could use this article to get Elira to do the live stream so they can put out a press conference. What I took this to mean is that Nijisanji could basically get Elira to do the infamous black screen stream that caused a ton of Nijisanji controversy. It was the one when Elira outed herself, Billy, and Anna as a few of the people who would turn up on Dokibird's legal document. The lawyer also said that Nijisanji could use what's in the contract to make them do social media posts. And I take this to mean that Nijisanji can make them do coordinated tweets where they post about positivity, similar to how there was an infamous coordinated tweet by Nijisanji back in the day where they all put out at the same time, "I love my family," or the most recent one where there was a coordinated attempt to post positive tweets in support of an artist. This came off as insensitive because it came out not too long after the Dokibird controversy. Then we have Article 4, considerations. Now, considerations means what is given in exchange. So every contract is an exchange of value. You do work in exchange for money. And this is where things start to get interesting because Nijisanji states how much their VTubers get to keep in terms of profits. The Nijisanji contract states that a Nijisanji VTuber is entitled to 50% of profits for their VTuber activities. And that's not half the raw number. That is half of the amount that is actually received. What this means is YouTube takes 1/3 of your income, and then after that, Nijisanji takes a half of what has already been cut. Honestly, 50% of profits for VTuber activities is not too far off from what Hololive promises to its talents. We know this because Kei-sun from VShoujo used to be a Hololive VTuber called Kuryu Coco, and she got kicked out because of some China controversy, and she confirmed that Hololive VTubers made 50% of their revenue. Next, we talk about what Nijisanji gives to their VTubers when they join their agency. So apparently, Nijisanji gives their VTubers an exclusive fee for equipment. A VTuber can ask Nijisanji for money up to 200,000 yen. This is equivalent, based on Legal Mindset's calculations, to be $1,333. Now, many of you may be saying that $1,333 may not be enough for your VTuber activities, and you would be right, because the Legal Mindset lawyer would put out a poll on the live stream, and 91% of the people who responded to the poll, where you asked if the amount of money provided by Nijisanji was enough, around 91% of people said the money was not enough. The Legal Mindset lawyer would also clarify that a Nijisanji VTuber won't always get this exclusivity fee. This amount of money is only paid if you are in the good graces of Nijisanji. Nijisanji has to decide if the payment is necessary. The money payments to the VTuber can be rejected, so that sucks. And now we move on to merchandising. A lot of us have always wanted to know regarding the 2% Nijisanji merchandise myth. Do Nijisanji VTubers only get 2% for merch? Is it true? The answer is we still don't know. The Nijisanji contract didn't mention 2% anywhere on their employment contract. What they did mention though was the amount of money a Nijisanji VTuber will receive from the company will be determined as a separate discussion between the VTuber and Nijisanji. What this means is we still don't know for sure the percentages of profit for Nijisanji merchandise. We still don't know. This is still interesting though because it potentially means there are other contracts besides this one because you need the percentage to be mentioned in a contract for it to be binding. So the contract provided to Legal Mindset is probably just one of the contracts that Nijisanji makes the VTuber sign. Now we reach Article 5, actual cost. And this is important because it talks about the costs of transportation when a VTuber is visiting the Nijisanji office or anywhere else for their VTuber activities. Legal Mindset would focus on how the VTuber is reimbursed. Apparently, Nijisanji isn't providing money upfront. They're only providing money after the VTuber has spent it on transportation. So basically, Nijisanji is reimbursing their VTubers and not advancing the payment to them. Basically, the VTubers have to invoice what they spent to Nijisanji, and Nijisanji will then give them the money. It is like a timed reimbursement. For example, if a Nijisanji VTuber wanted to visit headquarters like what Elira did, she would need to pay for the plane tickets first, and then tell Nijisanji, show them the receipts, and then get reimbursed. Now, this way of doing things isn't ideal, but it's not illegal. In my personal opinion, I'm used to this because there have been times when this has been used in my life. So I don't think it's anything shady or anything. It's just not ideal, that's all. Now there's Article 6, subcontracting. Now the lawyer, I think he said subcontracting the character is normal or something, which I tend to believe. I took this part of the contract to mean that it's for times when Nijisanji has to do anime collaborations and they need to subcontract the character to a different company. For example, the Code Geass collaboration where some of the Nijisanji VTubers were able to participate in a collab event with Lelouch. That's what I think this is about. Not too long after Article 6, the subcontracting part became popular on Twitter. One of Luca's mods, basically the moderator for Luca Kaneshiro's live streams, I think her name is Raziel. She basically came out and said that there was a part in the contract that said that subcontracting the work of your VTuber character to a third party was not allowed, but Luca would subcontract some of the work, the VTuber activities to Raziel, and that was not illegal, apparently. We will talk more about the situation after this video, but not now, because this is something that happened after. And Raziel is not exactly known to be, how should I put this? Raziel is biased because the allegation is she tried to groom Luca when she was much older than him. So there's a lot of stuff here that I don't want to go into yet. Let's move on to Article 7, provision of information. So the VTubers of Nijisanji have to provide Nijisanji with certain information, and Legal Mindset would say that this was unenforceable in America because it was a little too vague. But what this does mean is that Nijisanji does get to have the VTubers' information, personal information, if they want it. And now we move on to Article 8. Obligation to cooperate. You guys remember how VTubers will say, oh, I need to go to a meeting and then end stream. And then sometimes there are other fellow VTubers coming onto the stream to warn them that they need to participate in meetings. Well, this is the part of the Nijisanji contract that states that Nijisanji VTubers need to participate in meetings. There are other things as well. Legal Mindset would say that this was proof that Nijisanji VTubers were employees and not subcontractors. There was a prevailing argument that Nijisanji VTubers were employees and not subcontractors, and apparently this would affect how the lawsuit would play out. So that's what he's talking about here. And now we get to Article 9, conduction training. This part of the Nijisanji talks about the training that Nijisanji provides to their VTubers and how Nijisanji needs their VTubers to participate. Otherwise, they might cancel the contract with that VTuber. If a VTuber fails to participate in the VTuber training program without a reason, Nijisanji will terminate the VTuber contract. Nijisanji is also not responsible for any damages incurred by the VTuber after cancelling the agreement. Then we have Article 10, lending of materials. So what this is about is Nijisanji will provide tools to their VTubers if needed. This includes computers or work phones, but Nijisanji states that you can't use the tools they provide for anything else. So if you're using a PC or a work phone that Nijisanji provides for you, you can't use it for anything else other than your VTuber activities with Nijisanji. You also have to give back the work phone or the PC that Nijisanji gives you if they want it back. Then we have Article 11, management of the information of the account. Nijisanji can make the user ID and password for your social media accounts and then they can give it to you. Nijisanji is probably using this for their YouTubes and Twitters. Nijisanji would state that they could use the accounts of their VTubers for the purposes of management, to which Legal Mindset would say that this was the part of the contract that allowed skinwalking. Now, skinwalking is a term used for when someone impersonates a VTuber. You can also use this term to say that someone is impersonating the VTuber on Twitter. We saw this with Selen Tatsuki. There were allegations when Nijisanji was skinwalking a Twitter account, posting a tweet that said that everything was alright when everything was not, because Selen would make an attempt and she was in hospital during this time, so there was no way she could have made that tweet. From what I understand, this part of the contract is just something that allows for that situation to happen. Nijisanji would also state that they are not liable for any damages from management, even though management can use your social media accounts, which is kind of messed up, isn't it? Nijisanji would also say that they need to approve your social media posts, and there are parts of this contract that can help Nijisanji do that. Then we have Article 12, ownership of rights. This basically confirms that all IP is owned by Nijisanji. This is typical for a lot of VTuber companies. Nijisanji owns the rights to the model. You don't own the VTuber model. Article 12 will also talk about if any art is done by the artists or the VTuber, Nijisanji owns it. And according to Legal Mindset, he said something along the lines of, if a Nijisanji VTuber paid an artist to do something, Nijisanji can just use it. I think a lot of you have noticed by now that I'm not talking about every single thing in the article, simply because there's just too much to talk about. We'll talk about the article on its own on a later date, on a later video. Because right now I'm just trying to compress everything from the Legal Mindset video, including his opinions as well as the important bits of each of the articles of the contract so you can get the TLDR. We'll make a third video later on talking about what's actually in the contract, right? So we have Article 13, revenue. Nijisanji can demand and receive from third parties any and all considerations. Now, considerations means money and physical things. So that means Nijisanji is responsible for accepting all the money. All the money has to go through Nijisanji. No money can go directly through the creator. The money has to go to Nijisanji first before it can go to the creator. The Legal Mindset lawyer would also say that this part of the contract allowed Nijisanji to keep their play buttons of their VTubers. So Article 13 is actually the play button part of the contract. And in this case, the third party that Nijisanji would be receiving from would be YouTube, because YouTube is sending them the play buttons. Then we have Article 14, which is warranty against defects. Legal Mindset would say this is pretty standard, so we are going to ignore this. And I'm going to skip Article 15. And now we reach Article 16. Suspending the VTuber activities. This confirms that Nijisanji can suspend you without any notice. This obviously happened to Dokibird because she didn't even know that Nijisanji terminated her until she went to Twitter and saw it. Nijisanji can also suspend their VTubers if they lie, if they damage a third party. Nijisanji can also ban you if you made a Twitter user butthurt. By the way, if you can't stream on your account for more than 1 month and you don't respond to Nijisanji, Nijisanji can basically suspend you. Now we reach Article 17, penalty. Now this is a really harsh part of the Nijisanji contract. This details how Nijisanji punishes their VTubers, and Nijisanji punishes them using money. If you make a mistake that Nijisanji doesn't like, they can take 50% of your money. So that's on top of the 50% of the money that Nijisanji already takes from you. So you get only 25% if you screw up. This happens if you are suspended or terminated from Nijisanji. Beyond that, any color can demand penalty from you in the higher number of the following amounts. So they can basically take all of your money if you breach the contract by committing any of the prohibited actions stated in Article 15. Basically, if you put out videos they don't like, they can take all your money. By the way, it says in the contract that Nijisanji is able to take up to 12 months of your money. Basically, Nijisanji can take the amount of money you earned in the 12 months before the month where you breached your contract with Nijisanji. This is a really harsh penalty, not something you would want people to know about. Article 18 is the disclaimer of warranty. This part of the contract says being a Nijisanji VTuber does not guarantee that you will make money. This is the exact opposite of what Nijisanji management told Sayu in the interview. After Sayu told them how much she made as an indie VTuber, they would tell her she was guaranteed to make more money as a Nijisanji VTuber. Obviously, we know now the contract states that it's the opposite. There's no guarantee you will make money as a Nijisanji VTuber. Legal Mindset had his own interpretation of Article 18. While the contractor didn't explicitly say what he was about to say, the lawyer would say, if you had a copyright strike on YouTube, Nijisanji didn't have a legal obligation to help you with the copyright strike. Obviously, they'll still help you because they want you to keep streaming so it can make them money, but legally they have no obligation to help you with the strike. Any disputes or scams between vendors and artists and you has to be handled by you as well. Nijisanji would also try to limit the damages they would have to pay in case they were liable for damages. They tried limiting the amount of money they needed to pay to the past 6 months from the time the problem occurred. Legal Mindset has said that this is illegal and shouldn't be on the contract, because the companies aren't the ones who are responsible for setting the price. The courts are responsible for deciding how much money Nijisanji would have to pay. Article 19 talks about damages compensation. So if a Nijisanji VTuber has a dispute or feud with another VTuber within the company or outside of the company, the Nijisanji VTuber has to inform Nijisanji management regarding the complaint. You basically have to handle the dispute at your own cost. So if you fight with another Nijisanji VTuber, Nijisanji is not responsible and you have to pay for any lawsuits. What worries me about this is if Nijisanji is not going to take responsibility, bullying could just happen behind the scenes and Nijisanji wouldn't be responsible and we wouldn't even know. Then we have this part that says if Nijisanji was forced to pay someone or another company because the VTuber infringed on their copyright, or if they lost opportunities for Nijisanji, that means the Nijisanji VTubers need to pay back Nijisanji in full. Article 20 covers the termination of its VTubers. Nijisanji can terminate you without any notice, and if you betray Nijisanji, yes, they actually use the word betray. If you betray Nijisanji or act against public order and morals, or if Nijisanji thinks you can't continue as a VTuber, they can terminate you. And if you're terminated, Nijisanji can make sure the VTuber delivers any project that was pending. Basically, if a VTuber was in the process of getting a project done before the termination, Nijisanji will ask the VTuber to give them everything. For example, in Celin's case, Nijisanji could potentially ask her to hand over the incomplete version of the Last Cup of Coffee music video. Then we have Article 23, the amendments to this agreement. Now this part of the contract is a way to force you to accept the terms even if you don't agree. Nijisanji can amend their contract terms, and if the VTuber doesn't say no within 14 days, they automatically accept the terms. And if you stream and they send you a contract during that stream and you just didn't see it, and after 14 days you don't say no, you are deemed to have accepted the terms which they sent you. This is along the lines of what Legal Mindset said. Article 28 talks about the surviving provisions. Obviously, we are skipping a lot of articles to get to this one, because this one is quite important. Because this part of the contract states some of the terms of the Nijisanji contract will actually last beyond the life of the contract, which means you are still beholden to the contract after you leave the company. And they put a lot of things here that last after you leave Nijisanji. We're going to skip to one of the last articles in this contract, and it is Article 30, governing law and jurisdiction. This says any lawsuits against Nijisanji need to be done in Japan, and they explicitly state that the Tokyo district will have exclusive jurisdiction. So basically there was an argument before this where Legal Mindset was discussing where the lawsuit would take place if a VTuber decided to sue Nijisanji. And the lawyers and a lot of people were saying that it would be more beneficial to the VTuber if they were able to sue Nijisanji using the laws of another country, because obviously if they sue Nijisanji on their home turf in Japan, there's no guarantee there would be justice for them. So a lot of people were trying to figure out where the case would go. Would it go to Japan, or would it go to Canada, or would it go to another country like America? This part of the contract is saying that Nijisanji VTubers have to sue the company in Japan. While that is not ideal, Legal Mindset has a different opinion. And what he said was, any good lawyer would say that labor disputes would take place where the labor is done. Basically where the VTuber is streaming from, which in most cases is not in Japan. So the lawyer's opinion is this part of the contract is not valid. And there it is. That is the Nijisanji contract. At least that's what I think I can remember based on what Legal Mindset said. I don't think there's anything after that. Yeah, that's it. We're going to end the video here. I think it's gone on long enough. I think we've learned that Nijisanji's contract has a lot of parts where it is less than ideal. Some parts are just predatory, others are just disappointing. I don't think this is going to stop any VTuber from joining Nijisanji in the future, but it will serve as a basis for people to think about when they're considering joining Nijisanji. I know Depressed Nostalgia and Legal Mindset like to say a lot that VTubers sign these predatory VTuber contracts because they don't know any better, because they are too young, and that they have no experience. But I have a different opinion. I think people are signing these contracts because what they get in exchange, the exposure, is just too good. And by the way, there's a risk that Nijisanji will just ignore you if you even try to say that the contract is not ideal. I don't think they're going to make changes for you. By the way, do you remember that incident? There used to be a fourth member of Crisis, and this was supposed to be the fourth VTuber of that VTuber generation. I don't remember his name. I think it was Arvun or something. And this guy was supposed to join Nijisanji. The reason he couldn't join was allegedly he tried to negotiate the terms of the contract with Nijisanji. And Nijisanji basically kicked him out because of this. So the implication here is, even if you show your contract, your Nijisanji contract, to a lawyer, and you notice it's bad, and you want to make changes, you can't. Because Nijisanji will just say no. Instead of debuting 4 VTubers, they'll just debut 3. So what are your options? If you show the Nijisanji contract to your lawyer, and they say it's bad, you can either do one of two things. Either join the company or don't join the company. Because Nijisanji will never change the contract for you. Do you honestly think that Nijisanji will change the contract because you showed the lawyer your contract and you wanted to change it? Otherwise, you won't join. They don't care. That's not the Nijisanji strategy. The Nijisanji strategy is to keep pumping out VTubers. Quantity over quality. Variety over focus. Nijisanji's goal is to pump out so many VTubers that you eventually find a VTuber that you actually like, because they occupy a niche that most others aren't willing to go to. I'm not saying the Nijisanji contract isn't scummy. I'm saying Nijisanji is actually better rather than going around streaming for 3 years without getting any results. You have less than 8,000 subscribers on Twitch, even less on YouTube. So rather than waste several years toiling in the trenches, along with hundreds of thousands of VTubers who don't have the Nijisanji opportunity, why not join Nijisanji with the expectation that you're going to be treated like trash? Do your time in there. Use the platform that Nijisanji has given you to make connections like how Selen did. She made so many connections throughout the Apex Legends sphere, right? She has tons of friends there. She has Nox, his RPR, and through Apex Legends, he made friends with Altair and Axel, both of which still play with her as Dokibird through their PL accounts. My take is that you accept the Nijisanji contract. You go in there expecting the worst, do your time, you get the connections, and when the time is right, you leave. You leave with an audience. Having said that, it's up to you to decide what you want to do. If you think Nijisanji isn't worth it, then don't join them. Be an indie. Work hard. Different people have different principles. Do what you want to do, alright? Because at the end of the day, Nijisanji has shown that it is shitty enough to screw people over. Sayu is proof of that. Omu is proof of that. Selen Tatsuki, now known as Dokibird, is proof of that. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. This is Rex Nebula, signing out.